This is the cute and adorable Honda E, the all-electric Honda you can't actually buy here in Malaysia. Well, now you can, not officially through Honda Malaysia, but through parallel importers such as Westa Motors right here in KL. This car, ever since it was launched in 2019, has gotten plenty of attention, mostly for its quirky looks on the outside, but also for its super high-tech interior. The dashboard has no less than 6 screens, and look at it, it's got no side mirrors. In terms of styling and tech, this car is absolutely breathtaking. So what's so cool about the Honda E? Let's find out. Let's begin with styling because, well, that's what this car is all about anyway. This was first previewed way back in 2017 with the Honda Urban EV concept. Now, that took the classic styling of the first generation Honda Civic from the 1970s, but they added a modern retro styling onto it. That concept was so well received that Honda just took the design wholesale onto the production version that you see over here. I mean, it's been softened up a little bit, there's 2 extra doors in the back, but all in all, this is still a fantastic piece of design from Honda. You've got 2 round lights which have a really cool looking startup sequence, and this fully blacked out center grille really plays with the rest of the car. This is both retro and modern all at the same time. And you know what, in terms of looking unique, looking fashionable, this to my eyes is even better than the coolest of cool small cars, the Mini. Between this and the Mini, I'd take this any day of the week. Moving on to the side, you've got these classically styled 17-inch alloys. They sort of look like those old school steel wheels from the 70s. That's pretty cool right there. And then moving on, you've got this electronic side mirrors. Instead of using old school tech like actual mirror, you now have a set of cameras that feed into screens placed on the corners of the dashboard. On looks alone, this adds a touch of modernity that just brings the car forward 10-15 years, I think. And then you have the door handles. Over here, it's fully recessed, fully flush design. It's similar to designs used by Aston Martins and Ferraris and whatnot. It's fairly easy to use and it looks very, very good as well. On the side here, there is an NFC logo. Now this, you can use your smartphone, you just tap it there and it will unlock the car for you. If that's not modern, I don't know what is. And lastly, on the side, you've got hidden rear door handles as well. Is this small little cutout behind the door, and this sort of makes it look like, overall, if you squint, it makes it look like a 3-door hatchback like in the original concept. Now, this is a trick that's also used by the Honda HR-V, but I think it looks a lot better on this car. Round the back, the styling mirrors the front very closely. You've got the same 2 round lamps framed by this big black center piece. This is such a simple minimalist design, but paired together with the iconic thick C pillars from the original Civic, this to me is nothing short of a design icon. If you want to look cool, turn heads and look fashionable in town, this is the car to be seen in. Moving on inside, the Honda E is every bit as radical as it looks on the outside. Just look at this dashboard over here. It's all screen. It's breathtaking. You've got one for the driver meters, you've got a center head unit here for the driver, another one for the front passengers, and at the 2 corners there are the camera feeds for their side view mirrors. These are said to be even better than traditional mirrors because at night in the dark they can process the images to make it look a lot brighter, a lot clearer, so you'll know exactly what's around you. The field of view offered here is also wider and better than a standard mirror as well. There are other benefits too. Number one, without a big bulky mirror blocking your view, you now have a much better view out when you drive. That's going to be important when you're going around town. And lastly, this is probably the biggest reason they've done this, is that it's much better, much more efficient in cutting through the air. Basically, without side mirrors, there's no more two big ears blocking the air as you drive along. So this cuts through the air much better than a traditional car design. Other highlights that I like include this full wood veneer on the dashboard as well as the center console, and this also houses the gear buttons. You've got P, R and D all in button forms. I think that's very easy, very nice to use as well. Other interesting points include this full 3-pin plug down there. This being an electric car, will have no issues whatsoever powering your laptops, handphones or tablets and so on. As for the seats, you won't find any leather in the car because it's all covered in a nice fabric upholstery. This to me feels even more expensive than cheap leather. I would prefer this over leather any day. Plus, you've also got these color-coded seatbelts in brown to match the wood veneers. I think that's a very, very nice touch. Now, if you've been following the video from the beginning, you know I've mentioned 6 screens, but if you were to count it, there's just 5 down here. The last screen is up there. Even the rear view mirror is using a camera. That is pretty damn cool, isn't it? Now, as for the rear seats, the Honda E is not very good. I am only 167 centimeters tall, but even I am struggling to sit properly in the back here. I've got not much legroom left and headroom is very minimal as well. But let's be honest, this is a car that's going to be used in town only, so it's not like you're going to be sitting back here for hours on end. So that's probably not a big of an issue as it may appear at first. You will also notice that the bench itself is almost completely flat with no shape or support to it at all. But you know what? Sitting in the back here, it's far more comfortable than it may look. I think the soft fabric plays a big part here. You'll also notice that there is no center seat belt in the car. So this is a strict 4-seater, not a 5-seater. Again, not gonna be a big problem because this is a small car to begin with. Fitting 3 in the back here, yeah, you're gonna struggle. It's the same story with the boot as well, with less than 200 liters available. You're not gonna fit that many bags in there, but for short trips to the gym or to the shopping mall, it should be more than good enough. However, it's not all good news because I do now have to talk about this car's limited range. This is a small car by EV standards and it has an equally tiny battery inside. This only has a 29 kilowatt hour battery, which is about half the size of a typical EV batteries that you can buy in Malaysia. And that gives you a full range of about 220 kilometers on paper. So clearly this is a car that's designed to be used as a city car, as a toy car, and not as your primary daily car. But before you think it's completely useless, 220 kilometers is pretty much the same as the Mini Electric. And we have seen quite a few of those running around in KL, and most of the owners are extremely happy with those cars. On the flip side, of course, with the battery being so small, it also takes a lot less time to charge it back. This may only have a very limited AC onboard charger of 6.6 kilowatts, but even then, charging from 10 to 80% will take you around 3 hours, and up to full charge, it's around 4 hours. That's less than a full night's charge. And if you have access to a DC charger, this can take up to 50 kilowatts of charge, bringing it up from 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes. That's plenty powerful enough, I think. Another good thing is the charging ports on this car. This may be a Japanese car, but this is sourced from the UK, so it has the EU standard plugs of a Type 2 port as well as a CCS port for DC charging. This is much better than the Type 1 and Shademo ports on the Nissan Leaf. Now let's talk about performance of this car. This has a single electric motor powering the rear wheels with around 150 PS and 350 Newton meters of torque. This car can go from 0 to 100 in about 8.3 seconds onto a top speed of 145 kilometers per hour. And yes, I said it powers the rear wheels because this is one of the few rare rear-wheel drive Hondas. The previous RWD Hondas include the S2000, the NSX, so yeah, this is a very rare club that it's in. Now on to pricing. This being a parallel import, the prices will vary from unit to unit depending on the year, the price, the equipment, and the mileage as well. These two cars over here are both listed between 210 and 220,000 ringgit. So yes, it is slightly more expensive than a Mini Electric, plus you also lose out on the premium badge. But you know what? If you're buying the car for style, this is the one to get, I think. It's not often that you say a Mini would lose out in terms of being fashionable, but in this case, yeah, it's absolutely true. So what do you think of the Honda E? What do you think of the price, the tech inside? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching everyone, and stay safe.